Bonjour, David Durham here with World to the Wise Academy. Now, a couple of my students have had questions about the conditional tense, understandably, because there are some things that are not crystal clear about it. And so I figure if one person has a question, multiple people have the same question. So I'm just making this little video in hopes of clearing some things up a little bit. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. So the conditional is what we call the would tense. Not because it has anything to do with would, obviously, but because it conveys the idea of what English uses with the auxiliary verb would. I would like to do that. I would find that interesting, etc. And so some of the questions that have come up is what is the difference between would and could and should as far as how those are expressed in French. So just to recap how the infinitive is, how the conditional is formed, for ER and IR verbs, you just take the entire infinitive, let's say parler, to speak, and then just add the imperfect endings. And just to refresh your memory, that's the AIS, and AIT on the singular side, and on the plural side, IONS, IEZ, and AIENT. So you get je parlerai, tu parlerais, il parlerait, elles, on, etc. Nous parlerions, vous parleriez, il parlerait. I realize that can be a bit of a mouthful, so sometimes it just takes some practice. So that's with ER verbs. For IR verbs, it's the same thing, such as je finirai, as you see here. I see here I left off the S, that should be AIS. But for our RE verbs, you take off that final E from the infinitive, and that gives you, for example, attendre, j'attendrai, tu attendrais, il attendrait, nous attendrions, vous attendriez, ils attendraient. Again, can be a bit of a mouthful. So how do we express could? So if would is contained in the verb, so je parlerai, once again, means I would speak or I would talk. But how do you say I could do something? Well, that is using the French verb pouvoir, which translated into English, the only way we can translate that is to be able. But when you conjugate it in the present tense, it becomes I can, as well as I am able. You can, he can, etc. So in the present, that would be je peux, I can or I am able. So all we have to do to say I could, or anyone could, is to put that form of pouvoir in the conditional tense. And this is what that looks like. Je pourrais. So you see, it's an irregular stem. That P-O-U-R-R, it's not the infinitive, as you can see. It's an irregular stem. And then once again, add the imperfect endings. That is something that we can say never changes. A lot of things are variable in French, but for the conditional, you always use the imperfect endings, even if the stem is irregular. So you see, tu pourrais, il pourrait, nous pourrions, vous pourriez, il pourrait. So a couple of examples. Je pourrais t'aider. I could help you. So notice that pourrait, it serves the function of what we call an auxiliary verb in English, is followed by another verb, which is really the more important verb here, to help you, to help. Je pourrais t'aider. And once again, we're following our rule in French, where if you have two verbs in a row, the first one is conjugated, the second one remains in the infinitive. Another example, pourriez-vous me dire l'heure? Could you tell me the time? So pourriez is the conditional form of the verb pouvoir with the vous. So this is a way you could stop someone on the street if you need to know the time. pourriez-vous me dire l'heure? So that's how we say could. It's using the conditional form of the verb pouvoir. How do we say should? Well, that uses the French verb devoir. And as you remember, it means to need to have to. It also means to owe, but the context will make it clear whether that is the intended meaning or not. So in the present, just a reminder, je dois. Je dois aller à la poste. I have to go, or I need to go to the post office. Je dois. It can also mean I am supposed to, or I am to. I am to go to the party even though I don't want to. Je dois. Well, to say should, we just put that in the conditional. So like we took pouvoir, put it in the conditional to mean could, we take devoir, put it in the conditional to mean should. Je devrais, tu devrais, il devrait, nous devrions, vous devriez, il devrait. Now, can that stand on its own? Well, sure, if the context is clear. Like you say to your friend, should I do my homework now or later? Yeah, you should. We do that in English too. You should. And implied is do your homework. So devrait or devoir in the conditional is very often used in conjunction with another verb. So these two examples, tu devrais aller voir ce film. You really should go see that movie, or you should go see that movie. Tu devrais. Notice that aller is in the infinitive. Another example, il devrait faire plus attention. They should pay closer attention, pay more attention, literally. So I hope that clears things up. Just to recap, pour résumer, to summarize, would, the concept of would is contained in the verb itself. There's no need for an auxiliary verb. So I would work, je travaillerai. I would go, j'irai, because that's an irregular stem. Now, could, you use the conditional form of the verb pouvoir, and then most often followed by another verb, which will be in the infinitive. And how do we express should? That is using the verb devoir in the conditional tense. Je devrais, tu devrais, il devrait, etc. I hope this clears things up. And if you have any more questions, just reach out to me at david@daviddurham.org. Thanks for watching.